Mommy Track Daddy Whispers podcast is now called Birth Agni Podcast.
You're listening to Mommy Track Daddy Whispers podcast, bite-sized pregnancy series, where we discuss the major parts of pregnancy so that you are able to make informed decisions throughout it. This is part 2 of the episode Birth Health, the one ingredient that matters. I encourage you to listen to that before you start this one. I got all of that, and I'm really glad we have been doing this conversation on pregnancy and birth. But how do I know I did not bring my seatbelt? You would see those eyes differently. In this episode, we discuss postpartum mood changes and how do you know that you're not carrying your seatbelt on the journey of postpartum. You know, when I delivered Divi, I was not happy. I was not. I do not remember being happy. I was told, look, but the baby is all right. Be happy for it. While I hold your hand and look into your eyes and tell you, it is okay to not feel happy initially. It is okay to not feel any love for your baby. And with that feeling also, you might have your seatbelt on. See, your body, your beautiful body is nurturing a life right now. Your uterus, the mother uterus, is growing a baby. It went from the size of a pear to a watermelon. It has grown an organ to nurture and provide food for the baby, the placenta, the mighty placenta. Then, it delivers the baby, expels the placenta. Birth. All of that work of birth is tiring. Early postpartum is tiring for both you and your baby. Do you know what keeps you pregnant? Your body works on an ecosystem of hormones that keep you pregnant. And it changes to another ecosystem that keeps you breastfeeding. Your hormones change with birth. Change drastically all of a sudden. This affects your mood. Add to it the work of nurturing the baby, which is, by the way, mostly soothing. But there are things like changing diapers and doing the rest of your work, adjusting to a new life, to a new member of the family and its needs. The baby that was in the womb did not ask for anything. The baby that you are going to have in your arms is going to ask for its needs. All that bit can add to make it a roller coaster ride, which is why we are discussing if you would be carrying your seatbelt or not. And breastfeeding, it was even when I had extreme anxiety. Breastfeeding was soothing for me. It helped me sail postpartum. And I will take you through what can be the signs that you are not carrying your seatbelt in a while. But let us first see what you can expect early postpartum. I'm sure you must be wondering, what does life look like early postpartum? I have been told that there are sleepless nights, etc., etc. What is it? How can I picture it? What is it that lies ahead for me? All of my work is based on preparing you for what is to come. When you are prepared, you are better able to manage fastening the seatbelt according to the turbulence. It is important to be prepared. It is important to know what lies ahead. That is the first step to ensuring you carry the seatbelt so that you're not caught off guard. So picture this. Imagine you have a baby now in your hands. You've been hoping all this while too, but you may not feel anything. No glorious, magical, or sacrificing love that you've seen in the movies. Do not worry. You're not less of a mother. It is all right. Remember what I said in the start? Another thing that needs to be pictured, to think about what lies ahead, to be prepared for it, is that there is now a new human being, a whole human being who has its needs, preferences, likes in front of you. And that little new life is dependent on you. And the only method that baby has to communicate with you, because there is no language as of now, is crying, is being fussy. So you would have those moments and you would be mentally exhausted sometimes trying to figure out what the baby needs. That is all right. Crying is a method of communication and it can be daunting for the new parent. All through the new work of being a parent that needs you all the time, you may at some point in time want to go back to the freedom of the old life. It is very normal to think of how things were in those moments, to mourn the life that was, because you are adjusting to a new life. You may want to do things that you liked earlier. You may feel caged sometimes. You may also be sad. You may start grieving the freedom that was, and you may feel that this engagement will last forever. We've all been there. I have been there. I have felt that time with the baby is going to last forever, but that doesn't happen. Nothing lasts forever. The child will outgrow you in language, in knowledge, in responses. The child will outgrow itself in showing love, in being present, in being less needy sometimes. Grieving is important, and acknowledging that your life has changed is the first step to make adjustments. At the end of this episode, I will give you an activity to understand yourself better, your preferences better, to manage and prepare for that time better. Early postpartum is a crucial time for recovery and adjustments. Yes, you are undergoing physical as well as emotional recovery. So the mood changes and the feeling of sadness early on is called postpartum blues. And it can last for about 2 weeks. And you get the hang of it and you start feeling better. It's kind of your hormones are balancing, the uterus is going back, you are physically recovering, and within 2 weeks things start feeling a little better. You adjust to the new life. If all of this is happening, you are carrying your seatbelt, everything is all right. You are managing well despite the sadness. But if at any point in time you feel no, it doesn't look normal, reach out, ask for help. Emotionally, sometimes you may feel accomplished for being able to nurture your baby, for being able to do those little things for your baby. At other times, you may seem overwhelmed. You may feel sad, out of control. You may grieve the freedom of the previous life. Like I said, you may also often cry when things go difficult. If it does not get better, if it feels like a heavy cloud over your head, months into postpartum, here are a few signs to watch out. And I encourage you to bring your husband, your partner at this point in time to listen to this part of the conversation, because if this happens, you may not be able to recognize it at that point in time. And it is important for one of the family members to know, to see the signs clearly. Do you feel excessively protective of your baby? At that point in time, months into postpartum, when you do not feel all right or your partner does not feel all right, look for these signs. Ask yourself, does your partner or do you feel excessively protective of the baby? Does your partner or do you cry all the time? All the time. Does your partner feel or do you feel like a part of you is lost and you're not sure who you are? With all the recovery changes, does your partner feel or say things like, I'm not going to recover ever, or something would happen to me, something would happen to the baby? Do you or does your partner have headaches, chest ache? Does your partner feel alone, hopeless, like there is nothing they can make out of the current situation? There's nothing you can make out of the current situation. Does it feel like that? If your partner is not able to sleep, if you are not able to sleep, does your partner have outbursts of anger at loved ones? Do you have those uncontrollably angry moments often? These are significant. And if any of these things are happening, you should raise an alarm. For a partner listening to this episode, you should keep a tab at these changes. These are all involuntary, and yes, your partner needs help. Now you have the answer to how do I know if I'm not carrying the seatbelt on the roller coaster ride of postpartum. These points are your answer. If you exhibit any of these things or most of these things, then you are not carrying your seatbelt and you need help. Now to the activity that I was talking about to prepare better for that period that lies ahead. Here is something I want to say. A lot of women postpartum undergo baby blues, and that is a part of adjustment phase. A small percentage of women undergo extreme anxiety to depression. It's a small percentage. Most of us go through baby blues, but it is important to know what are the warning signs, right? But a small fraction, a very small fraction of women undergo extreme postpartum anxiety to depression. And you may not be one of those. So let's try and prepare to what lies ahead. And this activity should help you create an atmosphere for your recovery, both emotional and physical. Have you ever done a trip or anything, exhausting on the body and the mind? Maybe a trek. Think about that. You know that after that enjoyable trek, your body will pain and you would need time for recovery. This is similar to your postpartum. Your body has undergone phenomenal changes in pregnancy. It's tired. It's trying to get back to its pre-pregnancy function. So if you were on a trek and you came back and you were recovering, what kind of atmosphere would you create for your recovery? How would you expect your environment to be? Relatively quiet, with meditation, good food, and with the people you love? Now think about your recovery time postpartum. How do you imagine yourself to be? Who all you need to be around for you to help in the new phase? How do you wish to manage sleep? because sleep is a very important part of recovery, and a lot of the times postpartum becomes difficult because of the lack of sleep. And postpartum blues aggravate into something called anxiety because of the lack of sleep. Ask the elders in the family, what are the family rituals? How are things going to be taken care of postpartum? What are the things that will be done? Be prepared for those. And if there is something that seems to be coming in the way of your recovery, ask for a molded version. Ask for some changes and decide early on. Than be caught off guard. So think about that. If you like quiet environment, if you like less people around you, decide early on. Talk about early on who you want to be around you. Talk about the rituals, talk about anything that is on your mind that kind of irks you or you feel needs to be discussed. Discuss that early on. In the postpartum phase, you wouldn't be in a position, in a place, and you wouldn't have time to discuss and have those conversations because you already are in that phase. Pregnancy right now is a good time to discuss all those things and be prepared. Being prepared is better than being caught off guard, right? With that, I would end the episode here. I hope this helped you. I went through a time when I did not know what was happening to me. And it makes immense sense from my own personal experience to bring all these things to you so that you have a better handle at things. To have a handle at things, to have people who help you go through it is important. I had my sister, and I'm blessed for her to tell me that I was getting into extreme postpartum anxiety, and that story for some other day. Now we end here. If you want to take a free holistic breastfeeding class, you should also be preparing for breastfeeding right now in pregnancy itself. I am hosting a webinar on the 1st of June 2022. The sign up form is in the show notes. You can sign up from there if you want. Next week, we would be doing an episode on children's dental health, part 2 of what we had done before. And in the pregnancy series that would come out a month later, we would talk about the role of family and partner in the postpartum period, in the early phases of postpartum and parenting. I am taking listener requests because the subsequent episodes would be on listeners' choice. So you can send your choice to me as well. Please mail your preference on mommytrackdaddyWhispers@gmail.com. With that, I would say bye-bye. See you in just about 15 days. Reach out to me if you need any help. And remember, you got the power. Stay tuned.